بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We move on to a new chapter in the book Umdatul Ahkaam, a chapter beloved to those who are not married, a chapter may be beloved by those who are married and may not, depending on how happy their marriage is. This chapter deals with marriage, and the rulings related to marriage are plenty and a lot. So you have marriage, and if it is not successful, you have divorces, and with divorces you have to know the number of iddah or waiting period, and so many things related to it, such as the ruling on suckling or breastfeeding and when to do it and when not to do it. Also related to an-nafaqat, which is maintenance and child support and the provision that has to go to the wife, etc. The rights of the husband, the rights of the wife, the obligations on the husband, obligations on the wife. All of these are discussed in details in the books of fiqh. So we have hadith number 302, and who will read that for us? Yes.
Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu reported that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to us, "O young men, those among you who can support a wife should marry, for it restrains eyes from casting evil glances and preserves one's private parts from fornication. But he who cannot afford it should observe fast, for it is a means of controlling the sexual desire."
Okay, this hadith of Abdullah bin Mas'ud is an address to the youth. And why not to the old people? Because the youth are in greater need of getting married. And the younger you are, the more difficult for you to get married. When you grow older, this becomes easier. So the Prophet ﷺ is addressing the young men. And he says that whoever is capable to get married, he should do so. And what is meant by the ability to get married? Two things.
Physical and economical.
Or financial. Very good. So these are the two requirements, physically and financially. The Prophet is indicating that whoever is capable financially and physically to get married, he should do so. Now, what is the ruling on getting married? And scholars, as usual, put the 5 rulings on it. It can be mandatory, it can be highly recommended, it can be permissible. As it can be not recommended, and it can be also forbidden, depending on the situation. If a person who does not have enough to support his family, and he's unable to physically assume his responsibilities as a husband, so neither physically nor financially, and he gets married, this is forbidden. He's harming the other party in this marriage, both physically and financially. If a person has the wealth, has the health, and fears that if he doesn't get married, that he will fall into zina, into the major sin of fornication, marriage becomes mandatory upon him. He has to get married because he's able. And you can cascade that to different sorts of scenarios as well. What's the benefits of marriage? There are tons of benefits of marriage. Allah mentioned that in the Quran. And he spoke, subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the compassion, about the mercy, about the care between the spouses. And this can only be attained by marriage. No matter how close your mother is, no matter how close your father is, no matter how close your brother and sister are, again, nothing takes the place of a good and righteous and caring and loving wife. And those who are pessimistic would say, Sheikh, this is only found in Jannah. a good, righteous, caring, loving, compassionate wife. No, no, this is not true. Alhamdulillah, we have millions of successful marriages and millions of practicing, righteous, caring, loving sisters who are doing their job excellently. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ said that dunya, this life we are living in, is something that is transit and it's not solid, something that is pomp and glitter of this life. And the best of it is a righteous woman. The best thing that a person could gain, and part of the treasures of this life, is a righteous, practicing, loving and caring wife. And this goes for the sisters as well. The best thing that a sister could have is a loving and caring husband. If he's rich, this adds value. But if he's rich and not kind or compassionate, this has no value, none whatsoever. Among the benefits that the Prophet has mentioned in this hadith ﷺ for marriage is that, especially for the youngsters, when they get married, then this would help them to lower their gaze, and it would help them to protect their chastity, because then they have no reason to go and look around or to do something haram, such as masturbation or such as fornication, zina. All of these are sins, and Allah described those who do such things as aggressors, wrongdoers. فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. They are wrongdoers. They are committing a form of transgression. Then the Prophet ﷺ gives a solution, because the first thing that would cross one's mind would be, I don't have money. What can I do? I cannot get married. If this is the case, the Prophet gives you a solution for you not to fall into sin, for you not to send your gaze or not to fornicate. Then you have to fast, because fasting would stop and prevent and reduce your desire to commit something that is haram. From this hadith, we learn the benefits, or some of it, of marriage, and we learn also that it is something that is highly recommended, providing that you can afford to do that. Now, there are lots and lots of rules related to marriage which are not discussed here, and it might not be the right place to discuss it, because, as stated before, this is a summary of fiqh. For example, there are pillars for marriage, there are conditions for marriage, there are marriages that are haram. Among the pillars of marriage is the consent of both parties, and that they are able to get married. A man cannot marry his aunt because she's among the mahram. He's mahram to her. He cannot marry his sister through suckling, for example, and so on. So they both have to be capable of being married to each other. There has to be consent. So the guardian has to give his proposal, and the groom-to-be has to give his acceptance. Without that, the marriage is invalid. So any woman that marries without a wali, a guardian, her marriage is invalid, and so on. A lot of the Muslims, unfortunately, we find women asking the question and acting upon before even knowing the answer. Sheikh, I love this man in the university, and my father is not willing to give him to me in marriage, or give me to him in marriage. So we went to the imam of the masjid, and he made the contract, and we've been living together. Is this acceptable? The answer is no. This is zina. Your marriage is invalid, because you have to have the approval of your guardian. If the guardian is a wrongdoer himself, you got 100 proposals and he's refusing all of them without any legitimate reason, you cannot still marry without a guardian. You have to go to the ruler, to the Muslim judge, who would look into your case and decide whether to give the guardianship to someone who's closer. So instead of your father, he gives it to your brother. But this has to go through the Muslim judge or the Muslim ruler, not by your own whims and desires. So many things are connected to marriages. The issue of mahar or dowry or sadaq, is it a pillar or part of the conditions? Must it be paid immediately or can it be postponed? Can the mahar be paid from the girl to the boy, as it happens in some cultures? This is of course unacceptable. The dowry can only be given from the boy to the girl, not the other way around. Some make the trick. So the boy says in the contract, yes, I give 5,000 rupees as mahar, as dowry to my wife to be. But from under the table, he requests the father to give him a car, the uncle to give him a house, and maybe 6 tons of gold and this and that. What is this? Can a man accept such a thing? He would not become a man. The financial burdens of marriage could only be borne by the husband, by the man. He is the one who pays. And the woman is like a queen. To have it the other way around, this is wrong. And we have lots and lots of, unfortunately, similar situations that you all know of. Maybe we will get some of your questions in the Q&A session and we will clarify this. Or if it's understood, alhamdulillah, we will keep on what we're doing. So before moving to the following hadith, we have a short break. So stay tuned and inshallah, we'll be right back.
A servant is not afflicted with any punishment greater than having a stiff heart and being away from the Almighty, the Compassionate. Hearts are God's vessels on the earth. The most beloved ones to Him are the softest and the most purest. If hearts are nourished with God's remembrance and quenched with His meditation, it will witness great wonders and deep wisdom. Since our hearts are enlaced with layers of oblivion, we need to cleanse them to stand sound and pure before Allah. To know more, join us on Peace TV's new series on healing hearts, where we can join together the caravan of the sincere servants of Allah.
Let's try and purify our hearts from all destructive sins to taste true success in Healing Hearts. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. and repeat telecast at 5:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV. Courage it takes to stand up for what you believe in. Courage it takes to be true and righteous. Courage it takes to dare and answer your questions, be they social, political, economic, educational, or religious. To get clear and convincing answers,
test your courage and question me in Dare to Ask.
Dare to Ask, next on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. During the break, we made an inquiry to the brothers whether they want the following hadith or questions, and we had many questions pending, so we will devote this, inshallah, portion or this part of the show for questions and answers. So we will take the first question. The brother? Yes.
Sheikh, right now the hadith says that marriage is not accepted when the lady has refused to marry to the guardian, that I don't want to marry the man. So in the previous session we learned that friend says to another friend, I would like to give my daughter to you, and he accepts. But the daughter refuses to marry the man.
Okay, that's a very good question. Marriage cannot be correct, cannot take place unless we have two consents of the girl and of her guardian. Without these two consents, the marriage is not correct. So if someone proposes and the father meets him and he says, whoa, this is a good boy, khalas, I will give you my daughter. And the daughter says, I don't like him, I don't want him. No, says, I will force you. He cannot force her. The most authentic opinion of scholars, she cannot be forced. So the marriage does not take place. The opposite is the same. If she comes with a boy and she says, Father, I love this man and I want to marry him. And the father says, over my dead body. And she says, okay. This would not happen, of course. But if he refuses totally, and his refusal is justifiable, if he's from a different country, if he is from a lower class that would not be able to support his daughter in the same living standard, if he is someone religiously unacceptable, he doesn't pray, and she loves him, and this happens a lot. Women have a problem in making decisions that are suitable because they're emotional, they think with their heart. So if they fall in love, this may hinder their vision and they cannot see clearly. Not that men are always able to make the right decisions, but it's a characteristic of most women. That is why Allah says the approval of the guardian is a must, because he can estimate things, he can evaluate things. So I hope this answers your question. The brother with the brown shirt.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
You said that if a man cannot marry, then he should fast. How often should he fast?
Very good. The Prophet ﷺ told us that fasting cannot exceed a day on and a day off. As in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father. He told him, fast the fasting of David, of Dawood. Skip a day and fast a day. Now, if the brother says, when I skip a day and I don't fast it, I may fall into sin. In this case, as a precaution, he may fast the entire time, because he's not doing it to get closer to Allah. He's doing it as a form of treatment and prevention from falling into sin.
There's a couple of non-Muslim who are married, and one of them, he's a Muslim.
And he accepts Islam?
Yeah, one
Okay.
of them becomes a Muslim. So can they stay together or they have to be separated?
The answer is depending on the situation. If both were non-Muslims and one accepts Islam, it depends who accepts Islam. If it's the woman, and immediately she has to separate from her non-Muslim husband, because a Muslim woman cannot marry anyone except a Muslim. So if a couple, non-Muslim, the woman accepts Islam, she has to be separated from her husband who's not Muslim. Is she considered to be divorced or the marriage is void? This depends on what happens next. If she wants to marry someone else after the Iddah period, she can marry whoever she wants. But if she remains unmarried and after 6-7 years the man reverts to Islam and they would like to go back together, do they have to make a new contract? The answer is no. Because Al-As ibn Rabi' was married to the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, Zainab, may Allah be pleased with him and her. When she accepted Islam, he didn't. So she migrated to Medina and lived with the Prophet ﷺ for a number of years. Then he accepted Islam. And the Prophet reunited them again without making a new contract.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Walaikum salam.
When we speak about guardian, who shall be the guardian of a newly reverted sister?
The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that there is no marriage, meaning valid, without having a guardian and two trustworthy witnesses. And in another hadith, the Prophet says, alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever does not have a guardian, then the sultan, whether he's a ruler, Muslim ruler, or the Muslim judge, acts as her guardian. So if we're in a Muslim country, you have no problem. If you are in a non-Muslim country and you do not have any judicial Muslim authority, you go to the nearest Islamic center, and the imam or the leader of that Islamic center becomes the ruler who takes or assumes the position of a wali.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
A man adopts a boy.
A man
Adopts a boy.
a boy.
Can he allow the marriage of the boy and his daughter?
Okay, can he marry his daughter to this adopted boy? What do you think? Because there is no relation between the adopted boy and the girl of the man. They're not brothers and sisters. He's adopted in the sense that he's being raised in the house, but there is no relationship. He's not her mahram. There is no suckling between them. There's no milk between them that forbids them from each other. So there's no problem in that. Yes, Akhi.
So, if the guardian does not agree that the woman should get married, but still they get married, so will this be considered as marriage or zina or fornication?
If the father opposes and does not agree for his daughter to marry someone, yet they still go ahead and marry one another, is this marriage valid or not? And the answer is, it is not valid. Because the Prophet said that there is no marriage without a wali. And this is called nikahun fasid, marriage that is void. We have another kind of marriage which is batil. Batil and fasid mean the same. It's all invalid, it's all void. However, batil is when the marriage takes place with the consensus of scholars that it is not correct. When a man marries his sister through suckling, two suckled from the same woman, and they became brother and sisters through suckling, and they got married. This is batil. All scholars agree on that. A man married a woman without a guardian. This marriage is fasid. Why? Because there is a school of thought that allows this, and this is reported through Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on his soul. He allowed a woman to marry without a guardian. But vast majority of scholars say that this is haram, and the evidence supports this. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ supports this, so the marriage is invalid.
Can a non-Muslim be a guardian of his daughter?
Very, very good question. Can a non-Muslim be a guardian? And the answer is no. There is no guardianship for a non-Muslim over a Muslim. Meaning, if a sister accepts Islam and her father is still a non-Muslim, and I want to marry her, I do not approach the father. Even if he opposes, I have nothing to do with him. Her guardian is, if she doesn't have any Muslim relative of hers, her guardian becomes the Muslim ruler or the imam of the Islamic center. Yes, brother.
Today's world, for being financially viable, it's a long road. Boy has to go through academic learning, then competitive competition. By the time he gets job, he's he's on the higher side of the age. Now the vulnerability has increased, in this age of internet and all that. So looking to the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised the risk, and the Prophet has commanded it early. So is there any way, and what according to you should be the ideal age?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, nowadays it's the responsibility of the parents. Now usually if a boy goes to his father and says, I want to get married, he said, no, wait until you finish, graduate from university, and then get a job for 7 years and collect money, and you're capable of getting married, then you get married. And by the time he would be 35 years of age. This is wrong. If the father is capable, it is his responsibility to open a house for his son, or to let him marry and live with him in the same house. And this is better than the boy being forced to face haram or fall into haram. And this is happening in a lot of the countries, alhamdulillah. Those who are open-minded and they're a bit well off, they do this to their children. Because at the end of the day, feeding one mouth is similar to feeding two mouths. It's not going to be a lot of expenses that I cannot bear. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, fi amanillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.